Hey out there, it's David Miller, Phoenix, Arizona multimedia artist. Welcome to another episode of Camera Quest, where I go out, thrift some unusual style cameras, mostly analog, though sometimes digital, and then I'm here to report on my results in using said cameras. Today we have Minolta 110 Zoom, which is this funky looking guy. He looks almost like a sandwich. Really unusual design. 110 film was what my parents used in the 1970s when I was a little baby. 110 was off the market for a long while, and then Lomo came out with a 110 style film a couple years ago. That's what I have packed in this guy. I took him to New York City and shot around Phoenix with him, so I have some results already cooked up as I'm presenting this to you. But first I want to talk about the design of this funky camera. I got it $30 at Bookman's. They had two of them on site. Just had to put some new batteries in, simple batteries that I could pick up at any old Target. They have a shutter advance down here. Film goes in the back. And then you've got some auto exposure stuff up top. You're not setting the shutter speed on this, but you are setting an aperture. Apertures run from 4.5 all the way up to f16. And then you've got your focusing dials and a zoom dial here. So you're not stuck with one focal length. You can zoom this camera. Does take a flash, does have a bulb setting if you're gonna do some kind of really long exposure. Haven't tried that out yet. Overall, you have controls on this beyond a plain old point and shoot. You can be a little more creative with it than I've been so far. The final film result is a really small negative. This is much smaller than a 35mm bit of film. And if you're someone like me who scans their negatives at home, you might look at this and say, all right, I gotta run out and buy myself a special film holder to put this guy in. I use my 35mm holder that goes in my Epson Perfection scanner, and I just taped it on both ends into that 35mm holder, and it worked fine. I think the resolution is as sharp as it's going to get if I had it in a specialized plastic holder where it was sized exactly to 110. They are a little bit of rectangle shape. They're a little more like a 4:5 aspect ratio. They're not a 35mm 2:3 aspect ratio. And I think the fun thing about this Lomo film is that it has a little bit of writing above each frame. So what I'm presenting to you is my scan that includes that Lomo writing. I think I'm gonna keep it in there. I always look for unusual ways to present photos. When you think about Polaroids, for example, they have the borders, which traditionally are white, but Polaroid makes a lot of metallic, weird colors, gradients, all black, so on and so forth to the border. And I feel like that's part of the final image, that kind of presentation. So I'm doing the same thing currently with my 110 scans. As far as the auto exposure goes, I really haven't had a single image that's too dark or too light unless I shot it in like such a bad environment that there was no way for this camera to keep up. But I've done most of my stuff with either window light or outdoors, and the film speed that I've got currently in here is 200, so everything outdoors has come within acceptable limits of exposure. Again, I'm unable to set the shutter speed, but anything that you auto expose for in daylight is gonna have a fast enough shutter speed without a blur to it. The focus mechanism inside this guy is very accurate. I'm getting a lot better results with him than I am with any of the rangefinder cameras that I've worked with, including my medium format rangefinder camera. Now, I'm not the kind of person who minds a little bit of out of focusness to my images as long as it's expressing something important or that it's got a good gesture or a good emotion. But when you're working with low fidelity stuff, when it's already lo-fi and it's out of focus and it's underexposed, you're kind of piling mistakes upon mistakes, and it starts to look like someone who doesn't know what they're doing, or you're not able to get a good image out of it entirely. The fact that it's already a small negative and it's got lo-fi baked into that, I kind of want the pictures to be well exposed and in focus, and I'm not having any problems with this whatsoever. So I actually recommend this here little Minolta 110 guy. He is so weird that everybody I pulled this out on is very intrigued as far as images being like perfect works of art, museum ready. Haven't got there yet, but I feel like new cameras, the weirder they are, the more fun they are to play with, especially when people are excited about the results and they're gonna give you something that when you're just looking at them with the same old digital stuff, you know, I shoot a lot of models and they've been in the same environment, shot the same thing over and over. When you throw a little oddball thing in, even if it's just a weird funky camera, I feel like you often get something different out of the experience. So if you come across one of these Minolta 110 zoom cameras and it's not too expensive, give it a whirl. The only film you're gonna find for it right now is gonna be through Lomography.com. Not hard to order. You make anything with this, send me the results. I'd love to see what you did with this kind of camera. That's it for today. Talk to you next time.